it looks like nobody's here, but I mean, has everybody forgotten that there was a class on today? It looks like a lot of people have forgotten, but maybe they've not got the notifications. I'll just take this shrapnel out of my pocket. It's what we call it round our end in Yorkshire. When you've got change in your pocket, we call it shrapnel. I don't know what you guys call it. Obviously, wait for a few folks to roll in. Last week it was just getting interesting. And it was a big lesson last week, and it went on, and it was pretty in-depth for an hour. It's one of those that you're going to have to go back and redo and make sure that you are, let me have a look, there's OBS, get that going as well. Make sure that you are reviewing that material again, because it was the circle of thirds, I think it was last week. I think we were talking about that because right at the end, I gave away kind of like a little clue as to something that I was alluding to. Something that I was alluding to called the suspended pentatonic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of stuff to get there first. Yeah, stuff that's in the book, stuff that isn't actually in the book, but stuff, I suppose I'm saying, is a preview. Some of this is a preview of the book that I'm writing, which is the Fretboard book. And it's part of something... part of something that I call the stupidly simple soloing system. Because, I like my alliteration. And, if I had a lisp, I would not be saying that. I would not be calling it that. I would be calling it something else. But, you have to label these things. So I go on about the L7 grid all the time. And that's in here. That is in here. It's one of the pages in here. So if you look at that, I don't know if James has got. I think you've got a copy there, haven't you, James? Which page? Oh, it's in the index at the front. We can have a look there, can't we? The stupidly simple soloing system. I'm not sure which page it is today, but if someone wants to figure it out and put it in there, we wait for some people to roll up because, the more people it is, because there are different lessons on. Oh, here it is, the L7 grid. I should have alternated these colours on this because I've never written a book before, and this is page 19. Page 19 is the L7 grid, so that's page 19 in the book, guys. So we hello Aberdeen, how you doing? Yeah, good. And you'll think that's a good accent. My mum was Scots, so she was from Elgin, up in the Uchtermuchties. So so the thing that I alluded to today, last week, was this thing that I called the suspended pentatonic. And I'll get to that later on during this lesson. But the premium, no bad. The thing I'm going to hit you up with first is some theory stuff. And what I want to do, and let me just put my guitar down. I'll put my banjo down, and then and what I'll do is I'll switch over to this camera here. Oh, Blair Gowrie. Ooh. That's terrible. I thought it was a good one, to be honest. Blair Gowrie. I'm just trying to figure out where that is. I'm geographically challenged, me. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to switch to this one here. Right. Now, this is the way that I think. This is the way that I absolutely think about everything on the and it's translating this stuff onto Perthshire. Wonderful. It's lovely up there. So what we need to be able to do is we need to understand there's so many terms that we have to understand when we're learning music. When we want to apply that to the guitar, and that's what I'm always talking about, is applying it to the guitar. Always about applying it to the guitar. I know I've ventured into this idea of piano, and I may do again, but if it lives on we've got to make it live on the fretboard. If it doesn't live on the fretboard, then it's like in the middle of a jam session, can you like say, hang on, everybody, stop. I need to look at my circle of fifths diagram. Yeah, I just need to look at that because, yeah, that's what helps me. No, I think synonyms. You have to understand how key works. And like I said to you before the other week, I explained about the mixing desk thing. I've still got this diagram. This is 12 channels, looks scary. Well, here we have 12 keys, looks scary. This is the chords in the 12 keys. So each one of these is the constituent elements and parts of that key. Yeah, so this is a cool little sheet. So that and that are how I see them. So once you understand a key, and this here, this synonym way of thinking, you have to apply it to all the keys. You have to apply it to one key, and then you can apply it to all keys. And like I said in the live stream that I did a couple of sessions ago, I said the guitar, yeah, it's a bit like a piano in the context that if you think about a piano, when you look at the white keys, that's the key of C major, stroke A minor. If you think about it like that, then you can play in the key of C major, stroke A minor, just using the white keys. Now, you have a similar effect that happens with the guitar, because the guitar, the open strings there, they form a kind of an E minor 11 chord. Yeah, so really I think of that as being Phrygian chord 3. I'm going to explain it. Let's go over some of these synonyms, because what this will do, hopefully, will get rid of a lot of this. I love you, Bill. So we're going to do this. We're going to go through this here, and I'm going to go through these theoretical names. Hopefully, what you'll be able to do is see that they're exactly the same thing. So on this row here, everything is going to be the exact same thing. So in music theory, when I did my ABARSM, a Richter, I know that's Phil. That is Phil. I can see it just says Facebook user, but I know that that's Phil. If we go through, when I did my ABRSM, yeah, grade 8, music theory, many moons ago in the 90s, we had to learn these names here, and they make so much sense. So it's really good. So the first one we want to do is we're going to look at these synonyms, and we're looking at the chords in order. Might be useful, actually, if I fill this in first. If we look at this major one, we know from major keys, if you've seen any of my lessons, you know that I talk about major in Roman numerals. Major is a Roman numeral there. So uppercase, yeah, uppercase equals major, lowercase equals minor. So this is, instead of just having uppercase basic Roman numerals, what we do is we have extended Roman numerals, and then we extend them even more so that we can maintain the tonality of things. So major, minor. So you can see that chord 2 is going to be minor. Chord 3 here. Chord 4. Chord 5. Chord 6. And chord 7. So you can see there, what we get is the 7 chords in the key. And let me just extrapolate that in a key so that you can see why it's relevant to know this. And you can use this as an example as I go through this, and I want you to be able to see that this is the case. So if we do this in the case of C major, I'm just going to write out the ingredients for C major. Scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Right? But I know because these are lowercase that this is going to be minor. This is minor. This is going to be minor. This looks like it could be minor, but it's got this little circle up here which denotes that it is diminished. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put diminished there, dim, or we could put that symbol up there as well. So you can see there we've got 7 distinct chords. Yeah, they're all different chords, and those make up the family that is the key of C major. You can see that that's what's going on there. This is the key of C major. Right, so now we've got that out of the way, you can see how I'm applying this information here to this. Now, with the Roman numerals here, what I did with the uppercase and the lowercase element is I could show you that it was either major or minor. But let's translate that over onto this. So if we've got this major here, I'm just going to write here. This is the tonality of the triad there. That's the tonality of the triad. That's what we need to be able to see. So major, we can see that this is minor. This one is minor. This one here, well, it's uppercase, so we can see that it is major. And then we can see that this one is uppercase, so we can see that this is major. We could actually, because this is chord 5, we could look at that as being major and dominant, which is a completely different lesson, but I'm just going to put that in there as well, just so for this synonym way of thinking. So if we put that in there, right, okay, so this one is going to be minor, and this one is going to be, see if I can get it in there, diminished. So then we've got a diminished triad there. So triad is 3 notes, yeah? Triangle, triceratops, not triumphant. Maybe triumphant is has its root word in something to do with 3. I don't know. But there you go. That's the way that works there. Now, before we move on, I think it's important to say that these two essentially are expressing the same thing. Tripod. Yes, so they're a tritone. So we're expressing the same thing here. But look, there's 2 ways of doing it. We can express it in Roman numerals, or we can express it here in words, major, minor, diminished, or even for that case, for that dominant. We're always going to think that. And actually, you know, I'll just tell you now, yeah, what you need to do is chord 5. It's the dominant, okay? What did I say? Chord 5 is what? What is chord 5? Type it in the box there. Yeah, while I just get a little sip of water. Chord 5 is what? It's really important. I can show you a lovely little flow chart with it because it's just beautiful the way music all links up. Let's see. Dominant. Yes, it's the dominant. Chord 5 equals the dominant. And I'm going to be really kind of broad and blasé on this. In the key of C, the dominant would be G, but it's just a label for chord 5. That's the way we're looking at it. The dominant is cool because it's the furthest away. I know it's the furthest away from the 1 in terms of resolution. Yes, so that's why we get this talk about cadences. I talked about that the other week, but let's not digress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these names in here, and these are this leads me to this idea of the theoretical names. Yeah, so we get the tonic. So the tonic in the major key, yeah, is going to be major. Tonic, major. Have you ever heard of tonic minor? That would be the chord 1, the first chord in the minor. Yeah, so that's what that would be. Here we get another name for this one. This is called the supertonic. And just saying something about the tonic, it's called the tonic because it's the key to this, the tone that is determining. Yes, it's not just a drink. Yes, and anybody who puts tonic in a drink, there's something wrong with them, I think. So, right, supertonic. Yes, it doesn't mean that's a whole different explanation about where these names come from. And then what we get is we get something called the mediant. Yeah, right. And the reason it's called the mediant, I'm going to jump ahead, is because you see this dominant here. All right. I didn't want to get into this, but I'm doing it now, so I might as well carry on. In between there, 1 and 5, you've got chord 3. The mediant is the middle. It's a chord between the tonic and the dominant. So that's a good way to remember it. It's a good way to remember it. Now, what we can do here is we get something called the subdominant. If I can write that in there. The subdominant. Now, I'm going to come back to the subdominant. I'll explain that actually because I'm on that. The subdominant, what we get then after the dominant is the submediant. Get the submediant. Then we get the leading note chord. Yeah, so the leading note chord, or just the leading note if it's the scale. And then, as you can see, if I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I go back to 1 here, yeah, then this is essentially the tonic. Yeah, we get back to the tonic, and that would make sense. For years, I thought that the subdominant was called the subdominant because it was lower than the dominant, but it isn't. It's because if we go from an upper tonic and we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, down those 4, we get to the subdominant, which is exactly the same as if we count up from the tonic 1, 2, 3, 4 to the dominant, we get the same spacing. So this is the subdominant going this way. You can see it goes that way. This tonic crosses over, goes this way. Yeah. And then if we look from this upper tonic, if we go down in between that tonic, upper tonic and the subdominant, then what happens is we get this submediant. Have I lost you? I didn't want to lose you. But hopefully that gives some explanation how it works. But for me, the cool thing is is when you lay it out and you see how these chords are named and they go to each other. It's almost like a DNA. You get this kind of like DNA structure of how it all works. It's fascinating. So, right, okay. What we've got there is we've pretty much, it is a bit like the seesaw in a kind of a strange way. You know how the seesaw was just like, there's a pattern to that, and you think, just, shall I do it? Shall I do it? I'll just do it. Shall I do it? I will do. Because you know what? I get excited about these things because I love music theory. It's amazing. Let me just do it. I'll just do it because, yeah, it makes sense. So we've got the tonic, yeah, which we're looking at. It's chord 1. We've got the supertonic, which is chord 2. Then we've got the mediant, which is chord 3. Then we've got the subdominant, which is chord 4. We've got the dominant, which is chord 5. We have the submediant, which is chord 6. And then we have the leading note, which is chord 7, and then we go back to the tonic. And do you know something? Looking at patterns, it's all about patterns. It's all about patterns. And the way that I'm looking at it is the resolution, the way chords resolve. And the main thing is how this dominant resolves to the tonic. And you can see there's that distance that could remember this. You can't remember. I can't remember lyrics either. So don't worry, it's not just you. So we've got this here, 1 to 5, 5 to 1. Yeah, that's a really important transition between chords 1 and 5. 5 to 1 is called a perfect cadence. Yeah, so this is all about the grammar of chord progressions that we're kind of getting into with this business here. So because that's the case, that it's going from through that from those chords there, and like I say, from the tonic we get to the mediant, and you see how that's in the middle. So it's always in the middle. We get this strong movement here, and then we're going back. Let's do it the other way. So we go to the subdominant. You can see we go down 1. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chords there, and then in the middle of that we get this submediant as well. And that, if you think about it, the way this works is a absolutely fantastic. Oh no, I haven't mentioned James is manning the stuff at the back there, taking care of everything. Now the cool thing about this is this flow. This is where I do. What's it all related to? So this can be related to the cycle of fifths. I know I've had some questions about the cycle of fifths. The cycle of fifths is about key. But what we're doing is, I've just gone down a rabbit hole here to just talk about this. You cannot tell me that is accidental. Something's happening there, man. Something is happening. That is a beautiful way for these. That's a way for these to understand how these flow, from one to another. When you get this, you understand this, then you have to apply it to something called tetrachords. I have done a video on tetrachords on my channel before. Yeah, and if this is something that we want to get into, and I'm going to do I'm going to get into a thing about the cycle of fifths. I don't think the cycle of fifths is everything that it's claimed to be, because it doesn't live on the fretboard. The cycle of fourths does. That's a different story completely. Yeah, but I'm gonna abandon this for now. I just wanted to show you that pattern there. Can you see how that flow? There's a movement. There's a movement. There's a kind of a DNA in that. And if you take that through all 12 keys using tetrachords, if that makes sense to anybody, then you will see how it all works. Right. Okay. Back to this idea of synonyms. I have loads of paper here. Now, the thing is, if you know anything about the L7 grid, and I've shown you the L7 grid, you can break it down and you can look at it in two polarities. Yeah, we can look at it in two ways, in two tonalities. We can think of it in major or minor. Yeah, so we can look at it in that way. So synonymously, we want to think about the way that these chords work. In the minor key, yes, and this is a cool way to just, I see this. You've your eyes, I mean, you got your eyes have glazed over. Right, that's fine. It's okay. I didn't expect. I just put that out there just in case. Right. Now, what we want to do is the submedian here, this submedian, chord 6. This is important because this is the relative minor. That's the relative minor. Okay, so this is the relative minor. That would be called chord 1 if we were in the minor. This leading note chord here, if we were thinking about it in the minor, this would be chord 2, but the tonality of it would be diminished. So this is a minor key. This is how we express the minor key. Going back to the top here, what happens is we get this 1, 2, chord 1 and 2. This is chord 3. But we don't want to lose a lot of the information. We don't want to just use standard Roman nomenclature. We want to use enhanced. We want to really enhance it. And what we have to do is we want to retain the scale information. We want to retain the scale information. So that one would be we kind of think of that as flat 3. That is relative to chord 1. Yeah. So the distance between chord 1, root note, and the distance between this flat 3 chord root note here would be a flat 3rd. Yeah, we're just keeping it. We're just keeping that information. So this would be chord 4. This would be chord 5 in the minor. So we're just thinking minor here. This would be chord 6. And you can see that would be a major chord with a flat there. If we're thinking in terms of the scale formula that we would have for the minor, then that's what would happen there. This will all add up at the end. And then we get the flat 7 there. So that's the way to think of it. Here's something to notice. The tonality. Like I said, uppercase is major, lowercase is minor. The tonality remains the same because we're using that enhanced Roman numeral system. That's lowercase, that's uppercase, uppercase, lowercase, lowercase. We've got the lowercase with the diminished symbol on. So we're retaining that information there. Yeah, just to make this make a little bit more sense as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this submedian. The submedian is also known, it's really common way to understand it, yeah, is also known as the relative minor. So we think of that as the relative minor. It has another name. It has another name as well. But the thing is that relative minor, that the notes of that relative minor, I'll just write them out here in the scale formula business here. We get the root, we get a second, we get a flat 3rd, we get a 4th, we get a 5th, we get a flat 6, and we get a flat 7. This formula, if you can see, what I've done is it's just been expressed here in this minor. Look, root, tonic, same thing. So we could think of it as tonic, minor. Then 2, which is here. We can think of that as diminished. There's nothing I can put on the scale formula to denote that it is diminished because I don't want to. You can't mix it that much, but it is a synonym. So 3. Notice it's a flat 3. I can express it as a numeric value, but here chord wise, I want to see it like this as a flat major 3 there, 4, 5, flat 6. Can you see how this tallies up? Flat 7. So what happens is, if we're going to use this Roman numeral system, let's not use it as this basic one, which goes like this, because this doesn't give us any information. We want to retain the information because we want to see everything on the flatboard, on the fretboard. Yeah? Right? So that's the basic one. This one doesn't give you all the information you need. Doesn't tell you the tonality of the chord. It tells you it's chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but it doesn't tell you anything there. But when you change the tonality with Roman numerals, then that does. So we retain that for the minor, but then what we do is we retain the scale formula and amend that to those Roman numerals there. Hope that makes sense there, guys. So, and I will be demonstrating this on the guitar as well. Let's have a look at this as well. I said relative minor. This relative minor here, it has other names. And the other name that it has is a modal name. And a modal name, you might know it as, is this one, Greek modes. There's nothing really, I've never really found any interest in exploring too much where the names come from. They're just labels. They are just labels. Don't worry, Gary. It's something that you just need. It'll come together in a minute. Just watch. Just watch. Because the thing is, you might not know this business, but you might just know that. And if you can take that understanding that major is the same as something else over here or a scale formula, then that will be enough. You don't have to do all of it. You don't have to understand all of it in one go, you know. Just take your time with it, right? So we can also call that mode Aeolian, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we can call it Aeolian. We can extend that chord as well, right? And when we do that extending chords, I talked about this the other week with the cycle of thirds. So what we can do is we can extend that with the cycle of thirds. And for Aeolian, what happens is if we want to think of this as like, this is your arpeggios, because all we have pitch-wise are chords, scales, and arpeggios. That's all there is. Add some rhythm to that, and you've got music. That's the pitch. That's how we divide all the elements of pitch. Single notes, they're a part of a scale, and they're a part of arpeggios. Clusters of notes, they're chords, and you can express them in single notes. So those are the only three things that we have. Okay, I know this is a big lesson. Yeah, it's learning the guitar is. So this is something that you need to mull over it. But once you get it, you'll get it, right? Because really what we're going to do is we're going to boil all this idea down here. We're going to boil it down to patterns on the guitar that we can find reliably. We can do this, find it reliably. So, and this is what happens, you know. When I think of these things, this is what I think, how I think. So I'm going to just go through these modes. The first one, I'm going to spell this right because I used to say the easiest way to remember it was one onion, but I started writing it as one onion, but it isn't. It's Ionian. It's not one onion. It's not a shopping list. Yeah, it's one onion, right? And I usually write my modes in capitals. And hang on, I did that one a bit wrong there actually. So Dorian is the next mode. For chord 2 in the major, we're going to call that Dorian. Chord 3, we play that. That's going to be called Phrygian. This one here is going to be called Lydian. Yeah. And then chord 5 is called Mixolydian. Right, and then diminished here is the evil one, Locrian. Yeah, or Locrian, some people call it. Locrian, whichever one you want to put in there, okay? So this is what we can do. And this is the thinking behind this synonym way of thinking. You're in chord 1. Most of us think in chord 1 in major. We think we're in a major key. And therefore we think, well, just play Ionian. There's another name for Ionian. And that so that is major. Ionian is the same as major. And this is what I mean. They are synonyms. Let's look at this seventh chord here and what kind of seventh. This is the next extension of a triad. So we've got a triad here, which is major. The next one we need to kind of memorize. Yeah. And you know what? I'll do this as a sheet, as a PDF. Major 7. You just need to know this stuff. Once you know this stuff, you can find anywhere, and especially when you link it to the L7 grid. So, and remember, there are 4 grids. You know Ionian. That's it. Right, so minor. This is going to be a minor 7 chord. Minor. This is going to be a minor 7 chord. Yeah, this is going to be a major 7 chord here. Notice the pattern, actually. You've got to notice these patterns. How often is the Locrian played? Not that often, really. Nothing is generally used as that. Ion does make your eyes water. Now, what we're going to get here is we're going to get a dominant 7th. So you see, some things carry over in the naming. Yeah, dominant is carried over into the dominant 7th. Sometimes that's just expressed as a 7th chord. Your bluesy ones, yeah. Then here, chord 6, chord 1 minor here, what we get is the minor 7. And then here, what happens if this is a 7th chord, we get a minor 7 flat 5, also known as, that's diminished. This is half diminished, so we just put a line through it. Just like you have that line going through half, line going through it means it's half diminished. Yeah, does that make sense? So with these symbols, I'm giving you a crash course in all these symbols, all this stuff here. Let's look at the scale formula. Remember, we can use the major scale, the structure of a major scale, as the template for other scales. So an easiest way to understand that, I think, is it really is Lydian. If we look at chord 4, it goes root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And the only difference between major, which I'll put up here, root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, is that Lydian has a sharp 4. Then you can find your 4. If you can find where the 4 is and then raise it 1 fret or half a step, then you can play and find what the Lydian is. But really, for Lydian to be home, it has to be on the chord 4. Or if you're in the minor key, you're going to play those patterns, those scale patterns, those chord sounds. Yeah, you're going to play either a major or a major 7 for chord 4 because that's the home sound for Lydian. Right, okay. So I have to go through this, guys, because you're gonna get this when I get into this other pentatonic thing. So the Dorian goes root, 2nd, flat 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6, and then flat 7. That's the money note, that major 6 there. And I think that note, that 2nd, is the notes that give that mode its quality. Yes, so that's the thing. So it gives this quality. Phrygian, root, 2nd, flat 3rd, and I got a brain fart here. Root 2nd, the flat 2nd, sorry. Root, flat 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6, flat 7. So there we get essentially, look at everything's nearly flattened. Everything is nearly flattened. That's crazy. Yeah. So you can't. This isn't in the book. This isn't in the book. This is in the one that I am writing right now. So this is going to be in the next book. But this is something else that you'll be able to tap into as well. Mixolydian. Just like the major, we go root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. We can look at this and think about it in a different way. Yes, modes. I don't particularly like modes a lot. That's the way I learnt it. So Mixolydian, the difference between major and Mixolydian is it's got a flat 7. So this is one way of expressing it. Okay. And then Locrian, right, we've got Locrian, we've got flat 2nd, we've got flat 3rd, we've got 4th, we've got flat 5th, we've got a flat 6, and we've got a flat 7. Now, if you got a major scale and you did that to all those scale degrees, then that's what you would output. Okay. The next one is essentially the cycle of thirds. So what we do is we take all these and we express them in their 7 note extensions. Yeah, so we're going down into the extensions. So if we want to look at this cycle of thirds here, we would have root third, 5th, 7th, 9, 11, and 13. If you remember that business there, okay? Now, one of the things that I tell you is if you look at modes, if you look up anything on modes, and you look at modes, the things that you'll find is that people say modes, there's the mode name, but that's the formula. The modes and the formulas are married. They are married. But obviously, if we're thinking about that mode there, if we're thinking of Ionian, we're thinking of it as being chord 1 also. So we're looking everything along this row here. Everything along this row here is exactly the same bloody thing. It's the same thing. Yeah? So it's kind of like a unified kind of understanding of all of it. A mode is a type of sound. It is a type of sound. Think of mode, think of it as an emotion. Mood. A mode is a mood. And I did a lesson on that on my channel. So Dorian, what we're going to do is let's express that. Root, flat third, 5th. There's the triad. Because remember, we've got a minor. We've got minor 7, flat 7. Right? We've got the 2nd is a 9th. The 4th is an 11th. But we have this major 6th here as well. Hang on, something's missing on this one. That's it. Okay. So we get a 13 there because that 6th is the same as a 13. Brilliant. Okay, so that's the expression in the cycle of thirds of chord. Look at that. That's telling you, if you're in the major key, chord 2, these are the notes that you can put into the chord without breaking any rules. These are safe notes from the key. They are from the key. Play chord 2, that you can have a minor triad, you can add a flat 7 on it, and these are the extensions that are available to you. Yeah, I talked about this the other week. I'm building on the previous lessons. If you haven't seen the previous lessons, go watch the live streams. Look on my channel, look in the live stream section, and have a look at it. Yes, so we've got that business going on there. Right, so let's have a look at this. Chord 3, which is also known as Phrygian, where we have the scale formula. The scale formula tells us what we've already got. We've got a root, we've got a flat third, we've got a 5th, so we've got the minor triad again, and we've got a flat 7. Yeah, so chord 2 and chord 3 start out the same, but things start to go awry pretty quickly after that flat 7. You can even see that they both, as 7th chords, are expressed as minor 7th chords there. So minor 7 and minor 7 there. This one here, well, we have to look at this flat 2nd, because if we remember from last week, a 2nd is a 9th, a 4th is an 11th, and a 6th is the same as a 13. So we take the flat 2nd and we express it as if we're jumping over in this cycle of thirds. This would be a flat 9. That's your first extension that's available to you. I am not saying these are gonna sound great, yeah, because when you express more notes in a chord, when you the more notes you have in a chord, the more tensions you're gonna have, and it's gonna sound gross sometimes. The 4th, luckily, still in 11th, but look here, we have a flat 6, so this means we have a flat 13. So flat 9, 11, and flat 13 is what we get in chord 3 in the major. That's what's in the major key, if you want to think about it that way. Chord 4 in the minor, minor 7, Phrygian. They're all the same. This is the synonym for chord 3. Looking all the way across there. I'm working through this, guys. It's a big one, is this. It's a big bloody lesson. It's a big lesson, but it's a good one. Right. And we need to know this stuff. Okay, so on this one, we're going to get root, 3rd, 5th. We've got his normal triad there. We're going to get a major 7. Then what happens? We get a 9. The sharp 4 becomes an 11. It's a sharp 11. Then we get the 13. That's the way we can express it. So we've got the triad, the 7th, and the extensions. Here, Lydian, we've got root, 3rd, 5th. But we have a flat 7. That's the difference between chord 1 and chord 4. Can you see? Major 7 chord, major 7 chord. That's got a flat 7 in it. So it's going to show you what's going on there. We've got a 9th, we've got an 11th, and we have a normal 6, so that's just going to be a 13. Okay, so now what we're going to do is going to do it with the Aeolian. We've got root, flat 3rd, 5th. Then what happens is we get the flat 7, which means we've got the triad and the flat 7 there. And then the extensions that we're going to have, well, we've got a normal 9th, we've got a normal 11th, but we also have a flat 13. And then look at this. This is going to be pretty disgusting. We've got a root for this Locrian, otherwise known as this diminished chord, chord 7, the leading note chord, if you want to think of it in major tonality. If you're thinking in the minor key, it's chord 2. So we're going to go root, flat 3rd, flat 5th. There's this diminished triad there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add on flat 7. Because that flat 7 isn't double flat, because this isn't double flat, it's only half flattened. If you double flatten it, you get a proper diminished 7th. This is why this is called half diminished. That's the half diminished. Okay? Right, okay. So then what happens is, after this, we get the 9. But if we can see from the Locrian, the way Locrian scale formula is spelt, we get a flat 9. Yeah, look at the 4th. Oof, we get a regular 11th on that one. That's okay. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. Right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get to the 13th, and we can see that it's a flat 6, so that is the same as a flat 13. And there we have expressed the whole bunch of them, and it's taken 45 minutes to do so. But the main thing here is, guys, that this is synonym thinking. Synonym, not cinnamon. That's something different. That's what's on your donuts, right? So what we can do is we can look at this. I'm going to pick on 2 with this. I'm just going to pick on this one here. This is major. This is my major. I'm going to pick on this one, and then I'm going to pick on the 2 most important ones, because they will give you the idea, of why this is a good way of seeing it. Because the thing is, what happens is everybody tries to look at too much on the fretboard. This is massive. Yes, granted. And I don't expect you to pick this all up in one go. I really don't, because this is something that's taken me years to get into my head, and it still yields wonderful results. And this is the thing. The key thing about this is we're talking about applying this information to things that we do actually on guitar. Yeah? Let's pull this information over. I'm going to pull that up a bit there, make sure we can see that here. Now, what we have is we've got chord, scale, and then arpeggio. That's what I'm going to do, going through this. And you can see, when I look at these, I see no difference between all of them, because they're a synonym. They're a synonym. They're the same bloody thing. Right. Let's skinny this down, and I'm going to use a pencil. Let's imagine that this is, and I do you know what I'll do? I'll put this in a position, because some people were beefing about the pentatonic not being in a particular position when I was trying to show everybody it works in every position. This works in every position. If you hear the dog barking, the Amazon man's here. We're not answering the door. Right. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to have the root, 5th root, 3rd, 5th root here. Here we get an A major bar chord. There we get a bar chord. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out here, because I'm going to get to this suspended pentatonic idea. I want to get to this idea for you. So I want to pull it out so that you understand this. Yes? And then there's the 5R3. You see what shape this is here, guys? What shape is it? What shape is it out of caged? Because caged, it ties in with caged, does this. It ties in with caged. What shape is it? Put it in the chat. Right? So there's the chord. Let's look at the scale. Let's put the scale in. The scale goes like this. It goes root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, root, second, second, third, fourth, and then we'll go fifth, sixth, and I'm going to go seventh, and then I'm going to go back to root note there. Now we've got 2-octave major scale. So we've got A major chord, A major scale. Right, okay. Now the thing is, A major, this has got everything in it. These are all the ingredients. These are all the same ingredients here, okay? So we've got that there. And in fact, let me just do this because it's one of those things. I'm going to use the same color. Fifth, root, third. Yeah? Look at that. Look how it's hiding. It's like a word search. It lives in there. See, that same shape is living in there. That same shape. Right, let's look at this as an arpeggio. We're going to go root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth, root. You can see with this, we've got that same shape. It's hidden in it. So there's no difference between a chord, a scale, and an arpeggio. I'm just going to call that arp. A chord, A major scale. So you're playing an A chord and you want notes that fit with that chord. You play the A major scale or you play the A major arpeggio. The scale sounds like a scale. It's laddery. Whereas the arpeggio sounds a little bit more spread out. How is it an A chord? Because of the root, third, and fifth. Because under here, yes, we've got the fifth root and the third there. That's important. That's the next bit that I want you to understand there. We've got a root, major third, and a fifth. Look at the spelling here for this in the chords. So let's look at the first bit. Root, third, fifth. It's in that there for you. It's also in the scale formula. Look, the scale formula is the 7 ingredients that make up all the chords. So let's look at what we've got. Does this make sense? Root, third, fifth. Yeah, that's the same as that. We can call it major. If this was the first chord in the key, if this was the home chord in the key, this would be called the tonic. Yeah, so it's the tonic. So you can see I'm explaining it in different ways. If this chord was a flat third up, yeah, from an F sharp, then this would be called flat 3. If we were thinking of the key of F sharp minor, which is the relative minor of A major. Yeah, so we could think of it in that way. Well, we could think to ourselves, this pattern here is an A major scale, but it follows this formula here. So that means that this here is going to be called the Ionian mode as well. It is the same thing. It is the same thing. Let me just show you something. Now, what I'm going to do, all right, is I'm going to explain this. I'm going to explain this using the chord, the scale, and the arpeggio, because you can mix these ideas up, and you should always mix these ideas up. This is what I call the suspended pentatonic, because if we take a triad, and we go root, 2, 3, 4, 5, just show you this here. And what you do is you go root, third, fifth. There's the triad there, right? Okay. Now, what we can do is we can turn these into suspensions by moving either side of that third. We can get a suspension. This is why, oh, hang on, I'm off screen here. Can't see the bottom there. Right, there we go. Thank you for that. So we've got root, third, and then we've got that fifth there. And what we could do is we can see that there are these other notes at either side. And remember what I was saying last week about orbit notes around the intervals? So we have orbit notes around those intervals. And then what we can do here is we can see that we've got on this, we're just going to focus on the third because the third is the money note. The third is the emotion note. Remember, the root is resolution, the fifth is transparent, the third is the money note. So what we need to do is we need to be able to manipulate that note there. And the way that I do it is I use the notes that you would use for the suspension. Just on that there. Right. So we're going to simplify that again. Let me just take this here. Right. And this is the universal. I'm going to kind of universalize this one, if that is even a proper word. We're going to get 5R3. Okay, so we've got 5R3. Now, if we want to look at this as the major chords that we have, we've got 1, 4, and 5. Right? 1, 4, and 5. Those are our major triads. Now, what we got with chord 1 and 4, these guys, those are major 7 chords. This one, if you remember, is called the dominant. Remember I called it the dominant? So that's got a dominant 7th. Now, something happens with that sharp 4, if you remember. Sorry, I'm telling you the answer straight away there. If we look at the chord 4, we can remember it had a sharp 4 on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these orbiting notes around this. We've got a second here. We've got a second here. We've got a flat 3 here. We've got a 4 here. And we've got a sharp 4 here. Once we know where these are, what we can do is we can play this here. There's the little triad, second inversion, E-shaped triad. Yeah, it's just an E shape. And this works with all the caged shapes. So what we're doing is we're focusing on specific ones here. All right. The second, right? If we look at the tonic, it's got a regular second. It's there. Let's look at the fourth. That's going to be there. Yeah. Now, let's look at the dominant. Let's just look at the dominant for a moment. We see we've got a second, we've got a fourth. So this pattern here this is going to change how 5R3 works for you as well. This is the next step. Cap Bubba. 5R3 is just the start, really. Right? So what we've got here is we've got the sharp 4. Now, this is going to colour what I say here. I might not be able to get into the minor versions of this, but hopefully this will make sense, and I will demonstrate this on guitar. That one there, that belongs to Lydian. I'm thinking that's Lydian. So I've got my little shape here that I use to help me to know where I'm at, and then I put this on. Let me just grab my guitar, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hopefully, because we're coming to the end of the hour and we don't know if this software will cut us off again, like it did last week on that cliffhanger. Yeah. Which was awful because me and James were panicking. Let me just do this. Let me put the guitar on here. Right. Brilliant. Okay. So I've got my guitar on there. Here's where it works. This is where the tire meets the tarmac. This is where the tire meets the tarmac. This ties in with the L7 grid. Yeah. So I'm going to do this in the key of G major. All right. So there's my tonic, chord 1. If I wanted to play my major scale, I would play it there. I would also call that Ionian. The tonality would be major. Okay, the tonality would be major. If I wanted to extend that chord into a major 7, that's where that lives. I'm hoping there's some light bulb moments going on out there, right? How this works. So that's my chord there. That's my chord that's happening in the now. Yeah, I've got to be careful with that, aren't I? Yeah, although I've heard lots of people saying it since. Right, okay. But that is scaly. It's scaly. It doesn't really meld itself into how the chord works. So what we do is, because we know how to play bar chords, if we take the bar off, we're conveniently shown where the E shape is that I was just showing you just there. That one. So that 5R3 is there. Now I know I can think of my major scale. I could think, all right, root, second. All right, so it's got a normal second. And That's where that second lives. What's the other note that's at the other side? And this is why I call it the suspended pentatonic, because we've got 3 notes from the triad, and then what we're doing is the orbit notes that we're using are the sus2 note and the sus4 note. So I'm calling it a sus, even though the third is still present, because I'm using the suspension notes. It's just something that I think it makes sense, yeah, because it's not a true suspended pentatonic. Yeah, so we take that there. Now you can hear that I have a string that I can focus melody on. So somebody comes along, they play that chord, and I go, yeah? Does this make sense? If it makes sense, put it in the chat. Let's see it in the chat. This is why you need to know your modes. This is why you need to know your modal scale formulas. Yes? But that's all part of the equation, because once you understand that everything is a synonym, then it's like it's just different words. It's just the labels of how you express that shape there. I can say that's the tonic. I can say it's an E shape. I can say it's a 5/3 second inversion. There's loads of labels I can use for it. But the thing is, what do you do with it? Where does it live on the fretboard? So here, look, like I said, the grid, G. 1, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2. Yeah, we've got all our triads, all our chords there. Look, here's chord 1, chord 4, chord 5. And when I'm thinking that, I'm thinking modally, I'd be thinking Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian, dominant, both the same. Aeolian, natural minor, chord 6, still the same thing, Phrygian, chord 3, yeah, minor 7 chord. And they're all related. It's all on that thing where they're all the same. Chord 2, Dorian, yeah. Those are the patterns that I would play. I would use the Dorian scale formula, which is root, second, flat, third. There you go, root, second, flat, third. The flat third relates to the distance between this note and this note. That's the interval between those two. Yeah? So I can play those chords on there. I can play them as bar chords. I can play them as sevenths. I can play them as minor 11ths. I can play them as all the extended chords, all those fancy, swanky, expensive sounding chords. They live here on the grid. Yeah, so go there. Chord 2, chord 3. Okay. Chord 4, major 7. Got to look out for this one as well. Look, if I use chord 4, this is the 5/3 shape for chord 4, which is an A shape. 5/3. 5/3. Bless them all. 5/3. Because this is Lydian, and I know that Lydian has a sharp 4, and I know this is the third. I know the sharp 4 is going to be a whole step up, because the 4 is a half step up. There's the 4. The third is going to be here. Sorry, that's the third. That's the second. My bad, yeah? Can you hear that sounds a bit odd? Yeah, can you hear the chord? Move that up. So we're always focusing on this third, because that's the money note. That's the emotion note. So now this extends into more concepts. Like I say, this is something that I'm putting together as part of my stupidly simple soloing system. I might change the name of that if anybody could recommend something else. I just like saying S. So we can build all these around this. Now, some of you out there will be one step ahead, and hopefully you are. If you are one step ahead and you understand the synonym value of this, I can express the key of G there minus the 7 chord. If I want that, that's here or here. Yeah. I can put that there, and I can move that, and I can move that around. So, yeah, do it on chord 2, which I think is Dorian. What kind of second? What kind of fourth do I have in Dorian? This is super melodic, guys. You can hear it's not just the thing that most people do. Okay, I'm in the key of G, so I'm going to go. We don't do that. Yeah, we can do that. We can mix it with that. That's the beautiful thing. We can mix these ideas. Minor 7, because I know that on chord 3, which is Phrygian, that I've got a root, flat 2nd, flat 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6th, flat 7, back to root, and it's a minor 7 chord. I can add a minor 11 because the 11th isn't affected by the modal colour. James, can you pull the comments up and just make sure everybody kind of understands where I'm going with this? Yeah, just make sure. Do you get this? If there's any questions, and it's like, yeah, it is stupidly simple, because what you're doing, if you can play an A chord down here, an E chord, sorry, down here, yeah, you can play it here, yeah. Play it on the chord 5. You can hear, all I'm doing is I'm outlining the 5R3s, the 5R3, 5R flat 3, 5R flat 3, 5R3, 5R3, 5R flat 3 for chord 6. So it's chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6. Does it make sense? This, I'm thinking it's Ionian. This is Dorian. This is Phrygian. This is going to be Lydian. This is Mixolydian. And this is Aeolian. So you can see that this, you start to pick these things out, but we're using shapes to navigate our way around. And it's just triads. We're jumping on that kind of train of triads there. But the reason I say it's called a suspended pentatonic is because I'm using the triad and the suspension notes. If I was to take that triad there, yeah, that's the sus4. There's the triad. There's the sus2. The modes match the chords exactly. See, and I know where it's informing me which ones are going to be suspensions, where I can have my suspensions. Yeah? You've seen people do that. It's a bit of a bugger there. I'm pulling the 2nd up to the 3rd. This gives you a bit of a country thing to go at there. But I can do this on this one. Dorian's good. Now, there is a caveat, and I think the caveat is what I'm going to finish on. Yeah. Here is Phrygian. Now, the thing about Phrygian is that suspensions, we normally think of them as being on seconds and fourths, not altered seconds and fourths. So I like to tie this, and I call this one, on chord 3, I call this the Phrygian pentatonic. Ooh, what's that myself? Marcel, it's something you're going to have to really look at. Yeah, it is. It's a big one. I'm just brain dumping. Yeah, a massive idea. Yeah, this is something, and it's going to stay up on the channel. Yeah, it will become something polished up and everything else like that. But I believe I'm a big fan of a guy called Alex Amosi, and it's like, just give it away. Yeah, just give it away. And that's what I'm doing. This is huge. This is huge. I know. Not being a kind of a big head about it, but I know that people would be precious about this, gatekeep this information, and then sell it in some expensive course. I don't want to do that because I want to create guitarists. I want you to go home and I want you to pick up your guitar and I want you to pick it up and you go, oh, I can find bits now and I can solo. I can express myself. I can play along to a backing track and I don't sound duff. Yeah, and if I've helped you in some way to do that, then that's my life's mission. That's what it's all about for me. That's why I teach guitar, you know. So look, that's what we're doing here. Now, the other one that is a bit of a wobbler, yeah, the Phrygian is funny. Yeah. Look that. Yeah, look at that. Fifth, root, flat third. That's Phrygian. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a major third, perfect fourth, and a flat second. Look, there's the minor third. There's the minor second. We're basing it around the shape there, yeah? So really, with that flat second, I don't like to call it a suspended pentatonic. That's what I'm getting to with this, yeah? That's the thing. Do you know something? I kind of have this idea that if people played music, if everybody played music and people made music together, the world wouldn't be in such a crap state as it is. I know it sounds like, you know, lordy and lofty and everything else like that, but really, truly, I do believe, because music's the purest form of communication, because I can play that chord. We might not even speak the same language, but you still understand what that bloody chord is saying. Yeah, so the thing is, if we can do that with music, then we can do it in the world. If more people playing music, the better. It really does. Music soothes the savage beast, doesn't it? That's, you know, so that's the thing. So this is what we need to do. We need to play more music, and the more guitarists that we can have that are expressing themselves, then that's bloody wonderful as far as I'm concerned. Right, let's look at this. There is the other one. I want to finish on this one because I know James has to go soon. We've got the 5R3 for chord 4. Remember, chord 1, chord 4, chord 5, back to chord 4 there. 5R3 lives there. We know that this is Lydian. It's a major 7 chord, yeah? It's a major 7 chord just there. Right? There's the third. We know it's got a sharp 4. That's where the fourth is. But we need a sharp 4 for that to work. There's the second. So I call this the Lydian pentatonic, yeah? There's the 3 notes of the triad. And there are the other 2 notes that make up the whole of the pentatonic. Penta, 5, tonic, tone. 5 notes. That's what we're doing. We're using 5 notes. Can you hear that? Yeah. Yeah. See, so all this. This is the chord 5. You get super melodic notes out of this. Now, and that's just the beginning. But thank you very much, guys, for those of you who've stuck through this. Yeah, because it's not easy. You know, it's not easy trying to fit all that. There's a lot of information there. There's a ton of information in this one here. And so I'll post this I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll take today's notes and I'll post them in the Facebook group. And I should tell you that I've got something coming up, and I'll put my face on this as well because I really think that it's going to be useful. This is my full-time gig now. I do have a music school, and I do plan to show you around that actually at some point. And I plan on doing something with the PDFs. Yes, so I'm going to have a membership for the PDFs. It's going to be called PDF Club. And the thing with PDF Club, I will explain it in the future. But for all the live streams, I'm going to be including all the PDFs in there. I have to pay my mortgage, so it will be a paid thing. But it will be cheap, nice and cheap for you to get access to this stuff, and for me to pay for the hosting and all the technology that goes on in the back end that makes it happen. So the more you learn, the more you see that everything is connected. Everything is connected. So I'm just telling you, PDF Club is coming. PDF Club is coming. Yeah, and the thing is, the whole thing is to give you full access to the all archive of all my lessons. And it sounds like a salesman now, and I sound like a salesman, but I can't think of a better way to get it to you. So anyhow, with that being said, I'll post these in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, join the Facebook group. If you don't like Facebook, then I'm setting up, and I have actually set up a private community that's no ads, no cookies, no tracking, or all that sort of stuff, because I know a lot of you guys do not like the Facebook thing and being tracked. So I'm setting up that, and that's all part of this thing for delivering these PDFs to you, getting stuff to you so that you actually... Do you know something? So that you actually use it. You need to use this stuff. Don't watch the lesson and then just not action it, because then, that's the thing. Do you know something? You don't have to go back to Facebook. You don't. I will at some point announce, once it's ready, I will announce my community. I'll announce the community. Yeah. It's actually already open. There's a few people in there already. If you're in the Facebook group, you actually know about it. Yeah. If you haven't joined, then, then that's the thing. And it's still in the early stages. But, right. Okay. All that remains is to say as well, thank you. I hit 100k subs the other day, and if you are one of those people that subscribe to me, then I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch my silly guitar videos here on YouTube. And I'm really, really grateful. And I will be back next week with another lesson. I don't know if it's going to be a similar thing as this. Are the Frethead t-shirts coming? There is a design. There is a design, but we need to tell Kerry to get something sorted. 39.8. What was that? 390 subs. Yes, get in there. 390 subs. Man, I'm telling you, 10 years ago, I had 75 subs. Last year, I had 50,000. And this year, I've done 50,000 in 12 months. So it just shows you just got to publish. Get videos out there to the people that need them, because people need, if you've got something in here, they need that information. I've got to go because I know that James has got to go and teach. Right. Okay, guys. I will see you soon. Okay. Take care. Yeah. Look after yourselves. Carlos, you don't need to be the same level as anybody. You need to watch the video several times. That's fine. Okay. Definitely. Okay, guys. Cheers, Phil.